All right, great day here at E-MTB Review. I'm going to compare 4 of the best, maybe the most expensive hitch racks, wheel hold locks for heavy bikes. Heavy duty bikes, e-bikes, enduro bikes, downhill bikes. This is what you want. The first rack I'm going to talk about is the Quicker Stuff Mach 2 rack. For a 2-rack system, $1,100. It has a capacity of 70 pounds per bike, and it's not a heavy rack. You know, it's about 48 pounds for this rack. This is it looks like a 1UP USA copy, but really the designer of this designed the 1UP USA heavy duty rack. So this is a legit company. In fact, it's so in demand that they have problems with supply issues. The next rack in the shootout is the 1UP USA rack family. I have the Equip D right now here, but I'm going to talk about also the heavy duty rack. And 1UP USA probably has the most brand loyalty of any bike rack I've ever seen. You know, it's all aluminum, just like the Quicker, so no parts are going to wear out. Not cheap. This one's $805, about 48 pounds, so not too heavy because of the aluminum. And it has a capacity of 50 pounds per bike. The Super Duty one has 70-pound capacity per bike, so that one is appropriate as well, and I'll tell you about the difference between that and this one. And the third rack I'm going to talk about is the Saris MHS rack. The MHS is $900, weighs 75 pounds just for the rack, so it's really heavy duty. 60 pounds capacity per bike, 60-60, and if you have 4 bikes, 40-40. But they really tested the durability of this by repetitive stress testing. It's a company from Wisconsin, really cool company, and this is their second effort. They came up with the MTR to compete with the 1UP USA, but they learned a lot, and the MHS is their second iteration. So the first rack I'm going to demonstrate to you guys is the 1UP USA Equip D. To remove the rack and put it on, you do need a tool. It's a standard, not metric, kind of frustrating. And this is, you put it on this way, and this is your hitch cam. As you tighten your hitch, make sure you wobble the rack because it does take away that wobble. Any movement you have, you're able to tighten the ball on it a little bit. And you can move the rack closer to the vehicle or farther from the vehicle. So a lot of flexibility there. And then there's a lock here that allows room. It's supplied by 1UP USA. It has a tilt handle right here, a middle position, and then your normal position, and then out of the way so you can access your tailgate or whatnot. Something worth noting is on the flat position, they're elevated. The second rack is higher than the next one, and that's to get rid of some handlebar and seat interference. So what I'll do is I'm going to put a rack on, or a bike on. Maybe I'll just put it here. Whenever you have one bike to put on, it's best to put it closer to the car, but just for the camera. So you open it, a two-handed operation right there. The arms don't open too wide. They're wide enough, but when you have a lot of bikes or you're moving the bike, I wish it opened more. The Super Duty opens wider. So here's my bike, a Saris. A little tip for you guys is to put a wheelie, pop a wheelie, hold the rear brake, and then boom, it just makes it easy. Lift it one at a time, and you really want to cinch this on pretty tight. So here you go. Pretty little bit of fore and aft wobble as your bikes get heavy because it's only one skeleton. The Super Duty is more stable, but you know, your bike's not going to fall off. And then because there's no rest here, you know, it allows this to wiggle a little bit. So some people are uncomfortable with this fore and aft if your bikes are super close to your rear hatch. So but you know, this is what made 1UP famous. A rack that doesn't touch the frame, because when you are off-roading, any kind of touching will result in scratching. I have a lot of bikes and most of them are scratched from the rack. You have to make sure there's no touching, especially these big flat pedals, that they're not close to each other, because a flat pedal will scratch the adjacent frame. So here you go, I'm removing it. You know, I wish the arms were wider so you could just get it out, but right now you have to kind of finagle it out. What's happened with bikes is bikes have just gotten longer and longer in terms of wheelbase. So, but this allows a pretty long wheelbase, no locks included. It allows up to 5-inch tires, fat bikes. So very handy. Nice reflectors now, and you can have up to four bikes on this system if you want. Interesting that they have a tiny lever here and a ratchet here, so it's kind of noisy when you're activating it. So now I'll show you what they call the version 2 of the OneUp USA. So here's the Quicker Stuff Mach 2, kind of a weird name for a company. Quicker Stuff. Something really cool is it's truly tool free. This rack is the best if you want to remove your rack all the time, want to store it in your garage. Turns out 40% of our audience does it that way for one reason or another. You know, for security, for saving the rack, for getting it in the garage, in the car wash. So right there, you just loosen the cam once it's unlocked, and then there's a safety here, and then boom. 28 pounds for this thing, very convenient. And the way you would do this rack is one at a time, you know, just to keep the weight down. So now I'm going to tighten it, wobble it, get rid of that, and then boom, press the button, and now it's 100% secure. When you want to add a second tray, the process is the same, actually easier. You just rest it here and then lock it there, press the button. All right, so we have a tilt lever here, super handy. A little bit small, and it's good to wiggle the rack because the aluminum is kind of sticky. Lever is nice. The lever is much more sturdy than the OneUp. The arm is more sturdy, has a rib. It has an adjustable wheel rest. Oh, I should put it up here. Mind you, when you put the wheel rest there for your little kids' bikes, it doesn't rest flush, so little disadvantage. So we'll put it up to the 29er, put this up. So in terms of putting a bike, the Quicker Stuff's probably the easiest. Lift the front wheel up, rear wheel, front wheel, and the thing is pretty darn secure. Check that out. So still no wheel rest here, so a little bit of movement, but that's so you could slide your bikes back and forth to get rid of interference. It's elevated as well, so to remove some of the handlebar and saddle interference that you might see, and you could tilt it and whatnot. So this rack is impressive, 6-month wait, which is a pain. And if you want additional parts, you're gonna have to wait. But if you are the type of person who wants to remove the rack all the time and just add the modularity, the simplicity of the system, this is the rack to get. All right, rack number 3 is the Saris MHS. Super cool rack because it's so heavy duty, 75 pounds for this thing. So to remove it and loosen it, so it's very sturdy, right? This thing, you need a ratchet, by the way. You can't be having a socket, because you're just in a cramped space here. So there you go. So you can see it's loosening. When you want to take this off, you don't really want to do it. 75 pounds for this thing. And 75 pounds might not be too bad, but remember, you have to walk with it and you have to get it in that hitch. You have to thread the needle, so to speak. So it's easier said than done. And especially some of my friends, they take off the rack every ride. And I'm like, why do you do that? They have a need, but if you do that, then go for the OneUp or the Quicker Stuff. They're much better built for that. Okay, so let me show you how to put a bike on. One of the advantages is it has a huge lever here, so you can get the whole leverage of your hand. And then there's a middle position, and then boom. Not elevated, they're at the same level, so that may be an issue to some. And But the great advantage of this rack, aside from being so sturdy, is it's a one-handed lift operation right there. And this arm can go all the way down if you want to ramp or anything like that. So I'm going to put on an e-bike, show you guys some muscle. That's at least a 90-pound e-bike. No, actually more like 40. So here we go. You're resting on the wheel. And one thing I noticed is you want it seated so perfectly. So you want to tighten, set that, push this hard, and then push the front hard. So now you're on the rest and on the tray. And what you get is something pretty sturdy. You know, the wheel doesn't go back and forth. So there you go. The distance between the trays is 12 inches, so pretty generous for this rack. You do have locks right here. And that is the same lock as what you have on your hitch pin mechanism. And the last rack I want to talk about is it's on the road right now. It's the Kuat Piston Pro. Now that one is extreme because it's $1,400 for this rack. It's also a wheel hold rack, but it's so sturdy and it has integrated lights. Integrated lights is cool because there's less chance. These things just have reflectors. That one more visible during the night, especially if you're in a busy area and some people might not see your rack and hit you from the back. So that one's cool. $1,400, and it got famous because it has Kashima coated pistons to hold the arms. I'm not so impressed with Kashima, although it looks cool. But one thing that's really cool is you just press a button and it goes up by itself. It's spring loaded. This one is the next best because you have a one-handed operation right there. Otherwise, the One Up USA and the Quicker is two-handed. All right, we'll do a little road test, give you some road impressions of these racks. We're using two 50-pound e-bikes on the One Up USA Equip D, and it works all right. A little bit of sway because it has one spine for structure. For heavy duty use, we recommend the Super Duty or the Heavy Duty One Up USA, but these are perfectly fine racks. Next rack is the Kuat Piston Pro X. We don't have our own actual footage, this is stock footage, but it is so easy to put on, install the bike and whatnot that it's its greatest strength, really. And in terms of stability, it is pretty incredible. You know, sometimes we get upset at the price of this rack, but it is a very sturdy rack. Next rack on the docket is the Saris MHS. This is the one we use most, and a lot of our friends use it as well, and it's really been problem free using a lot of heavy bikes, heavy duty bikes and e-bikes, so it can handle the load. It's just built so strong. You know, again, the only issue is removing it and installing it on the car is not ideal. The lever here that has a protector, it can drag because it does sit kind of low and straight. Next track we have is the Quicker Stuff Mach 2. We only have one rail on it at the time of filming, and it just does not move. No left to right, no forward, backward. It is just incredible. This is about a 55-pound bike, and we hit it on the bumps diagonally, put on the freeway. This thing is just dead stable. Of course, a little more sway if we had two bikes, but this is probably the most wobble free of all these racks. And again, ideal if you just want to use one tray, or if you want to want a really modular system, the minimum amount possible. So what is my conclusion? What is the bottom line? I think the best one is for general heavy duty use is the Saris MHS system. Just if you leave your rack on your vehicle all the time, this is beefy steel and it can handle 60 and 60 pounds, no problem. It's just a nice rack. The other rack that's super cool is not the Equip D, but the One Up USA Super Duty rack, 75 pounds per bike, from a brand that's trusted through and through, no plastic parts. It looks the same 5 years later as it does now, and it's got great resale value. The quicker stuff, Mach 2, can't go wrong. This is an amazing rack. You know, the waiting list is just brutal. You know, it makes me just not want to get it. Who wants to wait 6 months? And right now they do have an issue where they take your whole payment and they hang on to it for 6 months. That's just because they don't have a deposit system or payment processing system worked out. So that's a disadvantage. But if you want a rack that's light, modular, can carry 70 pounds for 2 bikes, maybe a third, a little less weight, MHS, the Mach 2 is amazing. You know, one rack, take it off every ride. You got 3 friends joining you. You add a couple more trays, pretty amazing. And then the third rack, the Kuat Piston Pro. If you're just a pimp daddy and you just want the most expensive rack with Kashima coat, and you just want to kind of just kick it or tap it and have the arms go up, can't go wrong with that one too. That one's a well-made rack, and it does support the dealers as well. All right, thanks a ton, guys.